And so he was tired of kind of seeing the status quo, and he decided to step out and do something new and different. And so he launched his own podcast on YouTube called Chase the Patriot. So won't you please welcome Chase?
Thank you so much. I'm just so thankful for the opportunity to speak with you. And I'd say I didn't know what to expect and whatnot, but just hearing you guys, how active you all are in our community and politics, that is awesome that you guys get involved. And Dinesh D'Souza, I'm saying, what? I want to go. She's putting it in the calendar now. I want to go to that. So I got a few things I want to talk about. I'm really excited. I was hoping, I was back here trying to set up my speaker and it wouldn't go, so I don't know if it's going to be loud enough. I have a couple of videos that I put together to kind of go with my topics here, but a lot of it's just going to be me talking on some things here, so I don't know if that's going to work exactly. But anyway, I am Chase Landers, and yes, I did start a YouTube page, and the funny thing about that is I never did any social media stuff. I never did technology. I would call computers and cell phones the devil. I didn't like the stuff. But learning about how powerful it was in our world today, and how, if you look in the news, how it controls a lot of politics and what our students are learning. I've been teaching for 15 years, and I am just outraged with how technology is corrupting a lot of what they're supposed to be learning. And I'm going to get into that. And you know, with farmers around here in agriculture, there's a lot of things we can come together. You know, they're so divided right now with liberal or conservative or Democrat or Republican. Water is one thing. It doesn't matter what politics you have, we need water. And so I've got some things together where we can all agree, whether you follow the conservative or liberal agenda, whatever you want to call it, we need water. And so I'm going to get into that a little bit. And then also just, you know, I talk about technology and the social media companies, and you guys maybe have heard about censorship and banning people, and I'm still amazed in a lot of ways that I can even do my YouTube show still, because, you know, part of what I'll get into. So on that note, you know, I was kind of hearing what you guys wanted me to talk about in a way, and reaching younger voters. That's a big thing, the big voting block. And with everything in the media and everything in the news and everything in our country right now, is a lot of times these young people are being brainwashed with one-sided propaganda, and a lot of it, you were mentioning the dangers of socialism. I want to be here for that speech, maybe, because that's something I talk about over and over on my stream, is the dangers of socialism and communism creeping into our country. And I would have never imagined that growing up. Even, you know, Bernie Sanders saying I'm a democratic socialist on the main stage for president, that's impossible to me. So just a couple things on it. Google, you know, I'm on YouTube, and YouTube is owned and controlled by Google. And if you go on there, they have undercover. You heard of Project Veritas ever before? This is a group that gets their videos of the top tech people for these companies admitting crimes, admitting that they're going to censor people. If you have American flags in your video, we're going to ban you and shadow ban you. So guess what I did? I put more American flags in my background. I start waving American flag. I can't fit more American flags in my background. They say if you start talking about Christianity and God, and we're going to ban you. So I got my Bible in the shot every time, and I'm going to, again, that's one of the reasons why I started these videos, because just the attack from every angle in America to try to silence people. So, okay, then you look at it, and the good thing is that people are still able to get their message out. I'm just some guy that's from Tulare. And I make videos because we all have these devices in our pockets and available. And again, I didn't want to use them. I stayed away from it. But I said, enough, I'm going to try to do something good with their own technology. So I kind of, you know, think about the movie The Matrix, where the guy has to get into the Matrix to try to take down and expose the corruption. So I'm getting into Google and into YouTube and a lot of this stuff I don't like, trying to expose the corruption and bring some goodness. So on that, when Google was exposed and Project Veritas showed they're banning people like me as hard as they can, even Congressman Nunes, he's been going through it with Twitter and whatnot. So there are some congressmen that actually raised the alarm, and Louis Gohmert is from Texas, and he actually put that video of Project Veritas on his own website, on his own feed for the House, because again, in America, people are being silenced for their political speech. It's unbelievable. You know, and you mentioned in my kind of opening, I'm very proud of my family's history serving for our country. and I have people that have fought, bled, and died in service. And to think that they're going to silence people for what they fought and defended, not on my watch. And that's, again, why I keep doing whatever I can to get the message out. So this is something that you're trying to attract younger voters. They watch these things called memes. We all heard that word, right? Well, how many of you for 3 years didn't even want to say that word when it first came out? I was one that resisted. Meme, meme. I'm not saying meme because what even is a meme? But little by little, this very powerful, it is the political cartoon of today. And so what they're doing, especially to all of us that have more of a conservative minded in politics, they're trying to silence anybody that puts out these political cartoons. And so, for instance, there's an article you can read out of Vice.com, okay? And it says that they looked at 160 million memes online, and they found that most of them, the vast majority, come from 2 sites. Now, these are pretty controversial sites, but again, with free speech, you're supposed to be able to have things you agree with and things you disagree with. You can watch it, you can listen, or you can change the channel or turn it off. So in these sites, you guys have heard them now. They've been attacked. Reddit, 4chan, these are sites I don't use. I don't use them because they are pretty controversial. You've been saying you watch my show sometimes, right? I strive to not ever use one foul word on my streams. I don't go into anything inappropriate and whatnot. Part of the reason because I'm a teacher and I know that, they don't want me to, they're going to go after me that way, which has happened, by the way. They call in on my streams and say, how dare you talk about the Constitution and the Bill of Rights? How dare you support your president? And so they call my job to try to get me in trouble, which makes me even stronger. I'm going to make more videos. I don't care, right? So, but here's what they do to these sites. You guys may have heard, on the night of the election, the debate, all the Democrats are up there, right? They're all raising their hand for giving away all our money, and they're giving away everything else, and they're going to ban all the guns, and it's crazy when you listen to what they're doing. Well, all the craziness normally would be turned into video political cartoons, these memes. By the end of the debate, there would have been 10,000 video memes on the internet everywhere. But guess what? On the night of the debates, they banned the Reddit chat room. They actually shut it down. The one that's the most popular for making those videos, they shut it down so nobody could communicate. So this is just one of those ways where whether it's my stream, whether I'm almost up to 2,000 subscribers, and I'm very happy about that. But anyone that starts to get any kind of a voice, any kind of political voice, they shut it down. They silence it. So it's kind of a joke with my viewers. I say, hey, keep subscribing and whatnot, but once I hit that certain mark, I just know they're going to shut me down. But again, I'm not going to silence myself. So that's something that you have to pay attention to, those media companies and how they're. The thing is, you've just heard. I should have the clip, but top scientists involved with computers and psychology. They went to the Senate report and was in a questioning with Senator Ted Cruz. And he said, I don't know if any of you have seen this, and it was specific about social media companies changing millions of votes in the next coming election. You guys may have heard about it. This is something that everybody needs to hear the alarm, because controlling what people see. If you type in certain things in Google today, you're not going to find what's available. You're going to find what Google wants you to see. Sure. And so if you go to Bing or DuckDuckGo and whatnot, it's, you can find some other things. Well, on that, let me switch my order then, because this is how dangerous that all gets. Education. We send our kids off for hours a day. Many people, tens of millions, send their kids to public schools. I teach in public school and I try to do as best I can, right? But at the same time, what's creeping in right in front of us is technology taking over, namely Google. And so this is a clip I got to show if it's still here, if it'll work. I have to show this. Couple things here. I hope it comes out all right, because Google, we use it every day, but Senator Hawley has tried to sound the alarm. Oh, this is something. Okay, I meant to show this. I don't know if you can see it. This was, you're not going to be able to hear it. This was the Hanford steps at the courthouse when they had a protest rally against President Trump and the creation of the southern border wall. Why I did this is I went there and I just wanted to see I go to these events and I try to get, comments. I want to see what people were thinking. I want to get footage for my stream. But what ends up happening is there was about 7 people total. 7 people. But here's the catch. ABC, CBS, NBC, they were all there with a crew. And they were sitting there getting their angles just right to make it look like there was people, all this big protest. And so I made a montage. If you went home that night, oh, ABC News, oh, there was protests everywhere today. Down in Hanford, look at the protests. Well, if you look at the real footage from people that go there, you can see what actually happened. So, I may not agree with their politics, but at least they're active and trying and whatnot. But at the same time, the way they meet and they work in conjunction with the media right now, it is very dangerous. And I know you guys probably see that. You guys are active in politics. But the media is not just biased anymore. They are actively working in conjunction with the Democratic Party and, in many ways, anti-America. It's crazy to say that. Yeah. How scary and dangerous is that? They would love to put people out of their homes, losing their jobs. Oh, we want a recession because they know that'll take down President Trump. That's what they say, at least, right? So anything to take down President Trump, that is one of the most dangerous things right now. They're playing with people's lives. But you're not going to be able to hear this, I guess, but I just will show you the kind of clip of it here. Here's Senator Hawley, okay? Now, I wanted you guys, I don't know if you're going to be able to hear it. Let me just explain, okay? So this is Senator Hawley, and he was questioning a couple of our main generals who were saying, hey, what's going on with Google right now? And if you've been following Google, they're creating this big database of information. I might as well take the volume off here. And they're creating a social credit score. Have you heard about any of that stuff before? Where everything you do, everything you look up, everything you watch, everything you go, everything is put into an algorithm, and you get a score. And if your score is too low, you can't ride the bus, you can't go on a plane, you can't go to school, you can't get a job. Sound familiar in a way throughout history? And now, guess what? They're trying to institute that here in our own country with these companies. And it's inside our classrooms. This is what's happening in real time. You can read all over the news. Here's one here. How Google took over the American classroom by creating a Gmail generation. Starting in about 4th grade and all across the country, they give these students a laptop. They say, open up a Gmail account. Every one of your new assignments is going to be on Google Classroom. So everything your child is doing now, everything they look up, everything they write, everything they read, everything is all put into a database with their name on it. Wow. Think about what's going on here. Google, if you listen to this, what this recording is saying is that Google is working with the Communist Chinese government and their military at the same time denying working with our own government to stop this from happening. They're making it happen. So New York Times, how Google took over the classroom. 30 million already students have these accounts. Everything they do is put into a Google Classroom. Every assignment is watched. Everything they ever write, read. Wow. I don't even know how this is possible, but it continues. And this is, again, there's New York Times. Here's edweek.org, how Google Classroom is taking over the classrooms. And it all goes again. This is a key phrase down here. It sounds good. Okay, we're going to put it all in Google Docs to keep better tabs on our students. Now, okay, we need to keep tabs on them. I get that. Do we want a third-party company like Google taking every bit of information our children ever produce? I mean, that's something I don't even understand how this has been created. Well, you talking to it. Why? Because teachers are addicted to this stuff because they get all this new technology given to them basically for free. And they say, well, instead of all the paperwork, instead of having to get all a big pile of papers on your desk, it's all online. Well, we know what online means. It's all online for everyone to see, everyone to hack, whatever it is. They'll tell you it's protected. Don't worry, nobody's ever going to look at this data, right? Well, the scary part about it as well is big business. These companies are selling the children out billions of dollars. Here's out of Business Insider. They don't care about the education of Business Insider. They're saying, how can we make money off of this? Right. Well, here we go. Teachers across America are obsessed with Google products. Here's how Apple and Microsoft plan to get some of that money back. So they say $43 billion is this industry right now. $43 billion industry trying to flood this next generation with all this technology. Well, the scary thing, as we talked about earlier, when my daughter goes in and gets that laptop, and they all use this Google stuff, if she starts looking up things, she doesn't learn.
She doesn't go in an encyclopedia or read a book and kind of cross-reference thing. No, what does Google tell me? What does Wikipedia say, right? That's all they're being taught right now by design, by Google. They're making it happen. So what kind of response can we have? Here's a case study. Here's a parent who said, wait a minute, I don't want my child going through this. Little Kimber or Catherine, 4th grader, comes home from school with the paperwork. Hey, we gotta get our computer, Dad. You gotta sign this permission slip. Dad looks over and says, wait a minute. I don't think I want my child being all the data collected. So what exactly? He says the biggest concern also, this is the dad, biggest concern isn't just the data being collected, it's the long-term ramification for children who are being taught to hand this data over to Google without any questions asked. And I kind of get it to the Angry Birds generation, right? We all have a cell phone game. You probably all have a cell phone game. Maybe it's blowing up the fruit or Subway Surfer or one of those, right? Well, when you go and download the app, where here's the app, you can play the game just like that. First, you got to read the 37 pages of legal documents, right? Oh, everybody reads, or what do they say? Just press agree, just press okay. We have a whole generation that have done that 100 times a day. They just are watched by cameras 24 hours a day. Their cell phone tracking them 24 hours a day. They don't think anything of it. So whether their computers watching them in the classroom or their cell phones tracking them, this whole generation has no idea by design. They got to get that video game. They got to have that picture so their friend can see them at the beach or whatever it might be. They got to be on Snapchat or whatever it might be. And so it's not just the technology, though. Our education system and kids are getting hit from a lot of different angles, including the teachers union itself. Now, you guys know, and I already know, you being the Republican county group here, you guys know how powerful the teachers union is. Thankfully, there's been a little bit of pushback by us teachers because you can read out real clear politics. You guys maybe have heard about the Supreme Court case where teachers were forced, whether we wanted to or not, we had to pay dues to the teachers union, and then they went and spent all that money trying to elect Hillary Clinton and other things of that sort, okay? Whether I liked it or not. And so you guys know how powerful they are. Well, thankfully, the Supreme Court ruled in Fredericks versus California Teachers Association that we can choose. We don't have to give their money or give them money. Hey, give me the money or else, that's how we do it in this neighborhood. But you look at the Hill here, this is the woman's quote. She says, look, I'm anti-corruption, and the state and national unions have become incredibly corrupt. And so it's strange as a teacher. I'm a public teacher. Yes, I'm in this. I can see it. It's not helping our situation. Here's a direct example. Public schools, private schools, charter schools, home schools, the more selection we have, the better. It's called competition in just about everything we do. California teachers spent this year over $4 million, the teachers union, trying to stop charter schools from getting created here. They're trying to get laws passed through the assembly. Now, I was looking at your handout and you had some laws in here that are starting to get passed and whatnot, and I'm thinking of some of these, this is crazy and whatnot. And I saw this one though, SB 2, database tracking of students from preschool to college. I just showed you, they're already doing it. And so I don't even know why that's a law. I guess now they're going to get it from the social media companies and just, but anyway, this is what the teachers unions are doing. So what are they teaching? 15 years, how I've seen things change as a teacher, it's gone from, the teachers having their own experience. So for instance, I can remember going into a history class. Maybe you guys ever heard of Mr. McNatt, Kent McNatt. He's a loud voice and slur. One of the greatest teachers I had, and his life experiences of Vietnam and being in the military, when we learned about the Cold War, we learned about the sacrifice of our troops and whatnot. I learned a lot more from his personal experiences. Another teacher I had who wrote some books and went through that process. And if I wanted to learn, like I'm trying right now to maybe think about writing books and whatnot to get my message out even more, I can learn more from those experiences. It's not like that anymore. In the last few years, by law, we now have to do these PLC trainings. This is where they are bringing, as you're saying, socialism and communism inside the schools where there's no individual accountability of teachers, of students. Oh no, it's all got to be collaborative. Now, I was talking about this kind of practicing with my wife before, and she's like, well, there's nothing wrong with collaboration, Yes, there are moments for it, I get it. It's good sometimes. Not all the time. And not when you read into this stuff. And, you know, I have to sit through these meetings sometimes, and they spend a whole lot of money, where these teachers, you know, we're not rich, but we're getting paid pretty pennies sometimes to sit through these worthless meetings telling us how to brainwash our children into communism. And it's not exactly that too far. I'm not exaggerating when you look into this stuff, guys. It's crazy what's happening. So here is the results of this PLC. Here's out of edsource.org. This just came out a few months ago, February. California quietly publishes a list of the 781 lowest performing schools. Now this is something they didn't put on the news everywhere. You had to kind of go look for this one, because over the last 3 years, we had California's new law, the Every Student Succeeds Act, since 2015. And this, it says here, is this new locally driven but unproven strategy of changing students' performance through collaboration. So again, it's good to collaborate, yes, sometimes, dear, but there's no individual accountability. I've had a guy come into these meetings one time. This is the new thing that's eating me up as an educator. This guy came in, they paid him tens of thousands of dollars, and one of the things he said was, it is malpractice if you give a student an F for any reason. He told me that with a straight face. If we give an F for any, we said, wait a minute, what if they just completely don't even try, don't do anything, are disruptive, you know, the whole shebang? No, there's a F is malpractice. This is what they're teaching us. Everyone's got to get that special sticker, see? Everyone gets a trophy, whether you earn it or not, because we're going to collaborate. It's good sometimes, but again, I'm picking her on her now. So, from 2015, now, as my spot and educator, you know, I look at these things because I go through these meetings, but this is public knowledge. I'm going to show the details and whatnot. But here is 2015, 16, 17, 18. Here's the results from our county. This is the results of this. Okay, so just a guess. What would you guess for our math results? And I'm going to get in trouble, aren't I? But here's the truth. What do you think the math results for our district here in Tulare for students that met or exceeded the standards for math? What would be your guess? What percentage of all the students that took the test? 35. Right? 27%. 27% of our students are meeting or exceeding the standards, the basic standards. Let's go to English language, reading and writing, basic English. Because let me tell you, since they started using these computers, they don't read or write anything by hand anymore. They don't, even math is done on these things. I don't get, they're tests, math tests are done on these things. Again, you guys are looking like, wait a minute, how do you do long division, and how do you write it out, and how do you, again, well here's the English language learning, or not English language learning, but English language arts. Our average is, anybody got a guess? This was a little higher usually than the math. 40, 30, a little better, 54% for our district, 54. What is a 54 in school? What grade is that?
It's an F.
Well, I can't give an F though, that's malpractice, so I guess it's a C, right?
The heck of a curve. In Catholic school, it's an F.
So as I go through this, and it gets uglier, I mean, some of these, I won't get into Hanford West and Porterville scores, we're a little better than them at least, but again, when you look at the whole picture of what's going on, this is our youth. This is where they're going to have to be able to get educated, to get jobs and start businesses and make, you know, votes and vote in the next election and whatnot. So we have to, I don't know exactly what to do because, you know, just even going over that a little bit makes me a little nervous in a way, but we have to figure something out. That system is being corrupted by, again, the technology, the unions themselves, and what they are teaching. It's gone haywire, so that's something you guys need to look into for sure. We all care about our kids, and we're trying to get people elected, and you know, for right reasons and whatnot. They're going to be concerned about their children. If they see the reality of what's going on with their kids with these new plans in place, hopefully that can make them see the light, as they say, right? So I got a couple more topics. I hope I'm not going too long or anything. Am I good? Okay, I got a couple more topics here I want to go over there. And this is, again, kind of what I do on my show every night. I open up, I do a main kind of topic, and then I go over what's going on in general in the world and the country. And then I open up the phone lines, and that's quite a thing right there, because I'll get people from all over the country and all over the world. Sometimes they agree, sometimes they disagree. Sadly, sometimes they just want to call in and use foul language, and I got to try to cut that off real quick. But it's just, I really get an idea of what's going on. It's an amazing thing. I got to tell you, I never expected to have this kind of reach, to even be able to talk to you guys in this way. But to get people to call in from Louisiana and Ohio and Florida and all over, and they're just calling some random guy in Tulare. Let's talk about politics, or let's talk about technology, or let's talk about, it's a really cool thing, and it's allowed me to learn a lot of different things. It makes me research even more because I want to make sure I tell them good information. So one thing, I've been trying to really put this together. In our area, it's all water. I was talking about water earlier. And this is something that, so right now they'll say, building a dam, we need water. We cannot have a dam in California. Why? What would be that reason? What do you think? Environmentalists, right? Well, by the end of this, hopefully we'll be able to convince even the environmentalists that building a dam is a good reason, is a good idea. Because their own logic says we should do so. So, okay, so maybe if we have their logic and our logic, I don't try to do that so much, but again, as I was saying, the Democratic Party has gone so crazy recently for a lot of their policies that I don't want to associate that with that in any way. And some of the topics, I don't want to get people upset, but the stuff coming out about late-term and post-birth abortion, that's murder. How is that even a concept that is, then we have to have a word? What is it? Infanticide. Why do I have to learn that as a word? So, a number of things. Again, complete open borders. I teach government class. There's 4 things you need to be a country and a government. One of them is sovereignty in your borders. That's any government 101 class. Not today in the Democratic Party. And how about our God-given rights of self-defense? They think they can legislate away. It's crazy to me. So again, I don't want to say us and them, but in this way, okay, their logic, let's think their logic, okay? Global warming, climate change, yes, things change, the earth has always changed. Now the whole impact of whether or not we're doing it and we got to tax ourselves and we got to turn ourselves over to the UN or anyone else trying to tell us how to live our lives, that's a really dangerous angle in this whole situation here. So when I talk about banning certain voices, and I don't know if that's still, when they're trying to control information, one thing they do is they bombard you with a topic. They bombard you with their propaganda. So an example of that just hit farmers just this last week. So the UN, some things the UN has done has its purpose. For the most part, me personally, I don't like a lot of what's been going on there, taking away our sovereignty. They have these, I'll never forget, the Human Rights Council for the UN. Okay? They had the Prince of Jordan on there. I forget his name right now. He was serving as the chairman of the House, or of the UN Human Rights Council. And he pointed his finger at us, telling us that our gun violence was a human right and we need to start banning and silencing Second Amendment. From the Prince of Jordan pointing his finger, and I'm going and looking up the human rights in Jordan, and I'm like, wait a minute, how is this guy even talk? How is he sitting on this board? And that's just one example. Well, now they're going after the farmers. Food production. Farmers is one of the main sources of strength of our sovereignty as a nation, because when all else fails, we can still feed ourselves. And they want to take that away. They want to control what you eat on your very plate. Now, we've all heard the craziness of the Green New Deal, and we're going to ban cows and everything, right? Where are they getting those ideas from? The UN. Raise of hands is something that everyone right here probably knows. Agenda 2030, yes. Agenda 21, we got that one, right? So you brought up Carlton Jones earlier. He made a few remarks as mayor. Farmers were at those meetings, weren't they? They were there to remove him. You're going to represent our community. You're going to represent agriculture. We're going to get you out of there. Well, I knew there was going to be a bunch of farmers there all fired up, so I went down there on the streets and I was filming them. I was questioning them. Hey, do you know, is there a war on farmers? And do you know about Agenda 21, Agenda 2030? Just trying to get an idea of what they knew. And thankfully, a good number of them, a majority knew about it and were, yes, I understand that and we got to watch out for that. Well, this was one day, an idea of how they bombard you with a certain topic. Here is the Hill. It says, a UN panel calls for changes to farming, diets, to stave off climate change. And so they're in here saying the UN needs to take over farming because of climate change. But this is the Hill. Watch this, guys. Here's Huffington Post. The world must protect land to avoid climate under a new UN report, banning the farming at the individual level. Now think about what farmers, generations have learned how to farm to produce billions of dollars worth of agricultural product every single year. They know when to plant, they know how to harvest, they know what's good. No, the UN knows better. They're going to tell these farmers how to run their life. Have we not learned through history when governments come in and try to take over the farming, where that leads to? I'm pretty sure we've learned, right? Yes, mass starvation. It continues. Politico, this is all the same day. Within a couple days, Politico, UN report, agricultural practices have to change for climate. Here's New York, or NBC News, climate change could trigger a global food crisis, UN report. Here is LA Times, UN report says the land use policy key to global warming, over and over again. So they're bombarding us with this message to say, hey, somewhere, somehow, there's a good chance somebody's going to read this headline, and then it starts to get spread, and they go to work, or somebody talks about this. And because every one of these media sources is all pushing that same narrative, it becomes fact. Well, it becomes the way it is because I read it everywhere. Well, let's go down again. I promised you we would even follow their logic here. Yeah, it's a little tough sometimes when you call it logic, right? But, so here's an article you can read. Okay, this is the climate scientist of USA here, Union. What climate change could mean for the future of California's springtime snowpack. So their logic of climate change says that it's going to get warmer and we're going to have more rain instead of snow. Now around here we depend on the snow that falls in the winter. It says here, an average of about 15 days a year is what California typically receives half of its yearly precipitation, all in the snow. And then, as we know, it slowly melts throughout the year. We use it in our rivers and our reservoirs, and we capture it and use it as we need. Well, they're saying now there's not going to be any more snow or as much, and there's going to be more rain that will melt the snow that's there. So their own logic says because of climate change and global warming, there's going to be way more rain, and we have to, under their logic, it says in the report, we have to capture it with reservoirs. We have to be able to use it more wisely. So, if you guys remember, we just started the process actually. We just passed, remember, the water infrastructure bill in the last election. I believe, what was it, State Bill 1, Proposition 1. And this was for different infrastructure all up and down the state, but this was just the initiation cost, where it's going to cost, in my report I found, is about $500 million for a reservoir to be built in Rogers Crossing. This is a crazy thing that, as I was looking in to kind of get some information together, this just came at me. I believe in God, and I believe that He helps me sometimes. And I can't tell you enough that this right here just fell into my lap, trying to prepare for this speech. So in 2003, there was a report all done. It's all detailed about a reservoir needed, can be built, the studies done, the environmental impact, the cost, the blueprints for the dam. It's all here then it got somewhat approved, but then shut down, of course, as you said, by environmental concerns. Executive summary is all done. This is something where if we present this evidence and say, look, we got climate change, we need to store more water. Look, we have farmers, we need the water for our farms. We have Seville and Porterville, communities that have gone dry in areas. There's no water to drink or anything, they have to ship it in. Again, I don't know anyone that could be against this now on whatever side of the argument you're against. And it's all done. Here is the cost for it. Again, all the different parts and it's already done. The cost is generated. Here is the environmental impact and all the different agencies you'd have to get your permits from. It's all done. Here is the blueprints for the dam. Okay, not only is it a dam for water, it has hydroelectrical options. So again, the environmentalists, they want clean energy, get away from fossil fuels. This is an option where tens of thousands of homes can be powered with hydroelectrical power. So it's all done, it's all here. The environmental impact. So I gotta say that though, there is a chunk of river where there's trout. And I love fishing. I usually go out in the sea with my uncle. But there is, the sacrifices or the compromises we have to make. Yes, there's gonna be some river land that's gonna be covered with a lake. And there's going to be some white water rafting. Say that one 3 times fast, right? And some fishing area. And it says in here that it's protected by a federal protection that we'd have to get congressional approval from. Well, that gets into my whole thing. Yeah, don't get me going on that. Steal our land, and then we got to ask for permission to get it back. So that's another discussion. But finally, it's all on here in findings and conclusions where this dam is very viable. It can be done. We just have to have the courage to say, look, it's going to be an initial investment. $500,000 in 2003 is probably a little more today. But at the same time, being able to have clean water, being able to prepare for climate change, being able to have water for our farmers, that's something I think that somebody could really put out there and get a lot of support for. All right, I got one more here. I hope you guys are still with me. Is that good? One more? Am I too long? Am I done?
No.
Okay, I got one more here then. Are we good there? They were ready for this either. Okay, well, the other thing is just, the ridiculousness of the Democratic Party today. And, this is a Republican room, so hopefully I can say that proudly, even though we're in California. But just, looking at different things of what's going on the debate stage or in their party in general, I don't know how anyone could support what's going on. So first of all, I have this one from The Intercept, and this says, how lobbyists and insiders could override voters to choose the Democratic presidential nominee. So what am I talking about there? Does anyone know about superdelegates from the last election? Bernie found out, right? Hillary Clinton had a superdelegate advantage on every one of those primaries. They still have that in place. All these Democratic voters all across the country, the vast majority of them, they'll even admit it. It doesn't matter. They all have their insiders pick it. Well, they've gone to the next level this time. They've taken it to the next level. You read this article, and just about every one of these Democratic candidates today, they're actually paying the superdelegates. They're putting them on their staff, giving them a cushy job, and then if they get elected, guess what? Guess who gets a new job in the White House? So you read in here, Bernie Sanders, Kamala Harris. Oh, aren't we proud of our senator? Oh, wow. Oh, sorry about that. Beto O'Rourke. The list goes. They're paying the superdelegates to work in their campaign. Again, it's so corrupt in so many levels. But so what are their policies? Free stuff. When was there ever anything free? What happened? A couple old sayings, nothing's free in life, and what is the other one where sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me? Now words are a crime. You'll be thrown in prison for words now, and it's just crazy. Well, here's their free stuff. Here, and we have to be able to have this evidence when we're in a discussion of who are you supporting and why. Okay, Elizabeth Warren, she's going to give universal free public college and cancel all the debt for college debt. Okay, aside from how much that's going to cost, understand the limited people who went to college and got debt and probably have better jobs and higher paying. They're trying to tell America to pay off their debt. They're, working a part-time job or a low pay, some of that effect. No, but their answer is who they're going to take the money from. What do they say all the time? The rich. We're just going to tax the rich, right? So we're going to punish being successful now in America.
Right.
You're going to punish the whole incentive to go out and outperform, to produce. Again, this is not America I was raised. I don't understand what's going on here. That would never be accepted. But it goes on. Senator Kamala Harris, see, same thing. Free college education and $500 a month, just because. Hey, I like $500 a month. That sounds like a good idea, right? No, I was saying earlier. Maybe you guys remember Paul Harvey, the old radio voice. One of one of the reasons why I'm doing what I do, and I was very much influenced by him. I'll never forget one of his most famous clips is "If I Were the Devil." And it's a recording where it's saying if the devil were in charge of the United States, what would be his policies? And go home and listen to that today. And so many of the things he's saying in that recording not only are happening today, but they're being pushed a lot of times by the Democratic Party as just normal policy. And one of them is giving free money to kill the incentive until you just completely have a whole population that can't produce for themselves, and they're like we're seeing happen. But it gets even worse. Andrew Yang says, let's double that. We need $1,000 of free money to everyone. Is this even legal? Vote for me, I'll give you $1,000 a month. Is that legal? I don't know about that. The front runner, Joe Biden, says it's our obligation for health care for even illegal immigrants. again, that's been the new talking point. In California, Gavin Newsom just passed that one, right? We're all on the hook for that one for taxes. Again, is that even legal? Isn't that supporting and harboring? Cory Booker. This one kills me. I'll never forget, it's one of the images of America, the very proud statement of Martin Luther King Jr., with the masses all proudly hearing him say that we're not going to judge anyone by the color of our skin, but the content of our character. Here is Senator Cory Booker from his own website. Again, reparations, we're going to pay people because of slavery and the color of people's skin now in America. Again, yes, we've had different mistakes in our past and whatnot. Punishing people hundreds of years later because of the color of someone's skin, this is normal now. Free money to everyone, depending on if you went to college, your skin color, it goes on and on. Free stuff. Here's the kicker, Bernie Sanders, right? Bernie Sanders, he can't give away free stuff more. He doesn't, I can't even start the list of free stuff he wants to get because he has the idea of democratic socialism, right? Don't worry, everything's going to be taken care of. Well, here's something. When you start looking at these democratic socialists, that is one of the scariest things in our society right now because people are being lied to, and because of their ignorance, they don't know the reality of that. Democratic socialism means socialism. Socialism means communism. Communism means authoritarianism.
We'll be two-stepping.
Yeah, one step at a time, right? Well, this, I don't know if you guys know this. This is the Democratic Socialist sign. This is their flag. This is their national sign right here. Okay? And here's how just either in our face they're throwing it, or how ignorant the American people are, because I didn't know this until a couple weeks ago as well, so I'm not calling you ignorant, okay? This is from the novel 1984, George Orwell. We're supposed to read that as a warning, not as a blueprint for society. Okay, here is the Democratic Socialists. This is their sign. And here is the political party from 1984. This is the flag INGSOC from 1984. See anything familiar? See anything similar? We were not supposed to follow INGSOC as a blueprint. They are putting it in our face today. This is what they'll wave at you at the Democratic Socialist Convention. I don't know if you saw that clip. Oh man, it's funny. We can laugh, but it's scary. Oh man. There's about a 20-minute clip. Yes, no clapping. Again, it is. But again, they put it in your face and say, yeah, we're creating 1984 in real life, and what are you going to do about it? So, again, I got so many topics I get into in my stream. I try to, every day, my main thing what I do is I'm trying to inform people that they are created by God in the image of God. They have rights that we write down from Thomas Jefferson himself, that we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. They are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And that statement right there is one of the main reasons why I teach what I do. It's the main reason why I do my show, because the whole idea of America is the fact that you and me are individuals created by God. And we create government to protect our rights. Government didn't give us our rights. Government didn't create our rights. The Declaration, the Constitution didn't give me my rights. God gave me my rights, and we write them down so we don't forget them, and we can put them in a would-be tyrant's face. So that's what I do every night on my stream. I try to get people excited to learn about what their rights are, and they can take some action as well. So thank you so much. I hope you guys enjoyed. And if you have questions, definitely, I'd definitely like to answer questions.
So is your podcast on YouTube, or do you have a website?
No, it's only on YouTube. Again, I've had so many viewers say, hey, you got to do this and that. I don't necessarily even know how to do all that yet, but just YouTube. Yes, YouTube.
Can you give many
Chase the Patriot. If you go on YouTube and you write Chase the Patriot, all one word, Chase the Patriot, and it'll come up on there. I have hundreds of episodes. I do live show every day at 10 o'clock at night, and I just, again, it's about an hour-long show. And then I also do clip shows. I make memes to try to get into that stuff. I'll take a speech from Rand Paul. Recently, he had a very powerful speech saying we need to stop arming Saudi Arabia and these countries in the Middle East. And so I put different evidence from articles about the dangers of the terrorism over there and things of that sort. And we've been arming terror groups in the long run. I don't know if you guys know about that whole thing. A lot of what was hidden in the WikiLeaks was Hillary Clinton specifically arming some of the jihadis in Syria and places like that. So, again, there's things that I try to sound the alarm to that are global news that's just some random guy from Tulare. Here's the thing, it's the technology and information we all still have our hands on. What are we going to do with it? And I'm trying to inform people as best I can with the information I have. So, yes, Chase the Patriot on YouTube. Any questions? Yes.
How can we help you?
How can you help me?
Subscribe.
Yeah, I guess just tell people to watch it, yeah, in that way. And, you know, I will say, and even being here today, and I've talked to my wife about it before, and part of the things I want to do is maybe get involved with politics and run for some kind of something, do it that way. So something like that. I don't know how to, I've never stepped my foot technically into that, so maybe give me some advice or info on how to do that, maybe. That was
City council.
Yeah, city
and
council.
I was already researching that, and I was like, when Carlton Jones went through that fiasco, I thought about, okay, well, can I run for that spot? You have to live in I'm learning you have to live it, because they sued, and you have to live in that district, and so I'm trying to learn about that stuff, and yeah, that'd definitely be a good step.
You got to know Terry Sayer, talk to her, Connie Conway, talk to her.
Yeah, I know Connie Conway.
We got a lot of people.
Very cool to see her get that position in the Trump administration. That was awesome. Yes, sir.
Do you face any, negative feedback from where you work at school?
Yes. What happened for the first time actually is it's kind of a thing. Part of the reason why I do it as well is, again, I can't believe this is the United States of America today, where if you don't like something or you don't want to hear something, turn it off.
Right,
Change the
exactly.
channel. For me specifically, you guys are asking me, how do I find your page? You got to go look for my page. You got to specifically go on the YouTube, type me in, go.
Right.
I'm not broadcast on the airwaves or on the evening news. I would like to, but they got to go look for it. So someone somehow did call the district office, and I got
You gotta
they
make more
came
committee or
they
board?
came to the principal came and said, hey, we got a call, and hey, you do YouTube videos? And I said, yeah, I do. And she was very calm about it. She said, you're not in trouble, and you got First Amendment. We just want to let you know a parent called and complained. And I'm thinking, again, how dare I teach that? And I don't ever connect it with my job at school either. I don't film there. I don't promote it there. I don't do anything that I know the rules. I'm not dumb in that way. But so yes, that has happened. And again, I'm not gonna cower from it at all, because I know my rights, and yeah, I'll be good with that. But it is sad though. It's kind of funny in a way, but it's real sad. Yeah.
How does your students feel? Your students, do they understand socialism? Do they understand what's going on in the news in their classrooms?
So in my classroom, you can probably pick up that I'm going to try to do my best job to keep them informed. And so one of the things I do with my classroom is I try to incorporate what's happening in the world around them, what we're learning in the books as well. So for instance, to start the school year, I just was doing a lesson on the Declaration of Independence, the importance of it and whatnot. But at the same time, we're learning, I don't know if you guys are seeing what's happening in Hong Kong right now.
Uh-huh.
In the streets of Hong Kong, there are people by the millions standing up against the communist Chinese, and they are demanding that individual rights to protection. And they're waving American flags. I don't know if you've seen that recently. Singing the national anthem. As, my wife will tell me, my daughter will tell you, I watched football. I used to love the band. I loved, football. I knew all the players. As soon as they started spitting on my flag and kneeling on my flag, I don't watch that stuff anymore. And to think about the Nike shoe recently that made the news, right? Here they want to try to tear down the American flag that symbolizes freedom and justice and liberty and all the sacrifice. And then people that are actually under threat of a tyrannical rule, they're standing up waving it proudly. So I will say that, I follow the news and these polls that come out at colleges and such about supporting socialism keeps creeping bigger and bigger. That's something that, would you ever believe that we would have a democratic socialist on the main stage to run for president? I never would have thought that he would ever be possible. And so, here's the funny thing about that. I have to be honest about that, though. So last election cycle, I was still registered as a Democrat. I'm a proud Republican now, just to let you know. But I was able to vote in the primary, and I did not want Hillary Clinton. I did not, whatever possible. So when the primary came, I went in there and I voted for Bernie Sanders. And I was like, what am I doing? How can I do this? This is on my record now. But I was trying at that point, if you remember, anything to try to give him a chance to take away Hillary Clinton's option. But what happened, the reality was, when I went in there, I get home from that evening, they gave all of California's delegation votes before the night even ended. So I'm like, what did I even go vote for that for? But anyway, it's this crazy thing where, this idea of socialism has little by little crept up, and it's the ignorance, it's this, what I showed you even in the classroom, it's the whole idea of free stuff. You were mentioning FDR, and there was purposes for that, but a lot of the New Deal stuff, and a lot of those, you go look back, it was supposed to be temporary. A lot of those things were supposed to be temporary. They never ended. Now, some of them were supposed to, stay in place, but so again, that little by little, when there was creation of the Federal Reserve and the income tax and the New Deal, and there's a lot of things that have taken us down that road, and I don't know how to wake people up totally to get out of it. Yeah.
My question is, as a teacher, what can you tell us about how to find out what children are actually being taught? Because we're not allowed to really go in the classroom, right? And we're not, how do we even get those books to see, how do we even check what they're being taught?
The only thing I could say about that is if you are the parent or a grandparent of a student, there's a lot of options to keep track of your student. Sadly, with a lot of the technology, again, there's good times to keep track for the parents. But at the same time, the danger is the propaganda, the brainwashing, the collection of their data from these third-party companies. Again, I want my parents to be on their students, to know what they're reading and what they're writing and what they're learning about. I don't want Google knowing about it and making profit off it, because again, as we look into the social credit score idea, 10, 20 years, what we're saying in here, I would have never thought that would happen in America. We've said that about 5 times today already, right? So in the future, we have to be worried about what our kids are being taught. I get it. So I don't know. It's difficult. I would say, parents need to be involved with their students' education. I'm so happy for my wife. She is always on task of keeping up with what they're learning way more than I am and whatnot. So I'm very thankful for her on that. But again, that's the best I could say is each parent themselves has to pay attention as best they can.
Is there a list of books for every year that is an open, so that people can
yeah, I would
find
probably
out?
say that most of the time the textbooks and the reading material could be offered or available if you wanted to know. Yeah. Yeah.
Who owns Google?
Who owns Google? So that is Alphabet. There's a company called Alphabet on the stock market, and they kind of hide themselves with that term. So Google and YouTube and a number of other companies. So what happens is Google becomes powerful and everybody starts using Google, but in a free market system, other companies start to take on and compete with them. So before those companies can get anywhere close to competing, they buy them up. They completely monopolize the market. So now over 90% of all search results are on Google. Everybody, it's a common term. Hey, just Google it, right?
Yeah.
And we've all got so used to that we have an entire generation. We can all still understand double checking, going and cross-sourcing things. This generation doesn't even understand that anymore. Google is word. Google is everything. And when we learn about how Google is controlling information for political reasons,
That sounds like Sorio to me.
who's that?
Source.
Oh man, don't get me started on that one there. That's dangerous.
But it sounds like something he would do.
You're exactly right. And the amount of money that is funded, the thing about George Soros is his secondary business organizations like Media Matters and Think Blue. There's a number of political, so what he does, he says, sign up to my website and we'll pay for your donations to these different political campaigns and organizations. So if I don't have money to give to all these Democratic candidates across the country, this is a website where other millionaires and billionaires, they'll pay your share for you. All you got to do is sign up. And this is going around election finance laws and things of that sort. And then when you look into what the DAs and the prosecutors, all across our country, a lot of what actually happens as far as enforcing laws and what laws aren't enforced is all on the judges and the district attorneys in our local elections. A lot of people don't pay attention to them. And, it's just, I don't know who that is. It's just, they just vote or don't vote. Well, specifically, George Soros in the last so many election cycles has been throwing money, trying to get very progressive, very socialist-minded people in there for those different reasons. So again, it's very dangerous on that end.
I think Renee had a question.
Yeah, over here.
Yeah, do you, her question about the books that they teach in school, what, are you really regulated on what you can have your students read, like historically wise?
So that is why I brought up, and it's so important to me, this whole idea of the PLC. And I brought up Kent McNatt and whatnot, because the whole idea of teachers, we're supposed to be educated and trained and professional in what we do, and then they tell us, no, don't do that because somebody pulling the strings knows better. So I forget where again, it's this idea here where they're going to pull the strings like a puppet master. This image here of someone behind the counter, pulling the strings. And so luckily we haven't got there totally yet, where, I have some say where I have books based on the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution that I incorporate into my lessons. But more and more as I go these, we are, right now there's the resistance, and it's everything against America or President Trump. And I have my own resistance against this in my job right now. And a lot of my colleagues were really trying to say, we get collaboration at times, but I'm an individual with my own strengths and my own knowledge, and I can communicate and connect with students doing it a little different from the guy that's next door. And so what they want is what maybe you're insinuating. They want everyone teaching the same exact thing, the same book, the same test, the same everything, like little robots. That's not, no. I got 30 kids in a classroom. 5 of them learn this way with visual, 5 of them learn by listening, 5 of them learn by doing it, all the different ways. That's not reality anymore. They say, hey, we're all robots.
But they used, I know it used to be like it was, you had to read like the Gulag Archipelago, back in the day, that talked about communism and all the horrible things that happened, and now our young people don't know the history.
It's
They
the
don't know
exact-
this is the direction it's going, so that's what scares me, is that.
It's the exact opposite.
Yeah, you can't tell them, this happened, we've already tried this.
Yes, it's the exact
Been
opposite
tried,
now.
yeah.
Over and over. Specifically in California, I saw you guys are bringing awareness to it. A lot of what they're trying to teach is not fact, it's opinion, it's progressive, it's very dangerous. So, yeah, like I said, there are, I think I was setting my camera up, you guys made a comment like, well, he's a teacher or very liberal or something, aren't they? Usually someone say something like that. Yeah, there are some of us that can't stand
Are you guys
a lot of that.
closet Republicans?
you gotta hide it, right? Yeah.
Do you have a young Republicans group on campus?
Do they? Yes, they do
They
have.
do now?
They have both, but I don't think that it's been active. That every
You could
year.
be the advisor.
Yeah, I might.
That would be great.
I might. The only thing is I love my job. I love being able to provide for my family, but the politics of the district and the teachers union stuff and whatnot is.
It needs to be somebody else. You don't need to take it all.
We want to invite them.
George, you would be good.
I pick and choose my my battles in a way.
Could you
was there
have
a
an
couple-
off-campus leader?
What now?
Could you have an off-campus leader to lead that group?
Oh, that would
Would
be.
it have to be a staff member?
I would think that if you went through the background check, that would be something they would be, I'm not totally sure, but I would think that'd be possible, yeah. Because then, getting somebody to actually get them more involved at that younger age in high school, maybe I need to just bite them a little bit.
We were told they weren't there.
Volunteer coach.
What's that?
Could be
Yes.
different than a volunteer
Yeah,
coach.
exactly. That's right. Yes?
This is kind of related to that indirectly. When we were growing up, sixties, seventies.
Right.
Young people were fairly liberal, and as they aged and matured, life experiences, you grow
Right.
more and more conservative with time.
The first paycheck, right?
Exactly. But now we have, with this media, with this influx of the media, the new reality of being interconnected electronically. I was like watching a commercial, and these kids were like becoming friends with their iPods, which is bullshit because they're not. You got a huge amount of suicides
Yeah.
because part of indoctrination is isolation.
Right.
And when I saw, it broke my heart when I saw 22% of millennials say they don't have a single friend.
Yeah.
How do you get those people, those kids that say they don't have a single friend, involved in the political process, involved with other people?
Right.
You know, because that's where the secret is, getting people out of their basements and out of their bedrooms, and you know, opening their eyes to what's around them.
Yeah, that's the thing, the eyes, right? So many times you would have a conversation like right now, I'll make eye contact with you, you have that personal connection and whatnot. Now with technology and their whole generation, as you're saying, they've been staring at their phones, they've been staring at their computer screen. Their friends are maybe even imaginary robots on the internet sometimes, so
Chuck,
it's an amazing thing.
the Tulare Association of Churches had a meeting last week, and there are 3 different individuals that are at each campus, and they're going out and seeking out those kind of students and befriending them and being the friend that they don't have on campus.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Oh, yes. Oh, one more.
You mentioned the unions, and I understand that if you don't join the union, you don't get representation for the union if you get sued.
Yes, there's,
And the way parents are today, very soon after.
yes, you know, and the thing about it is going through some of those things before, a lot of times the teachers' union's not gonna really do what you thought they would in the first place. And I'm telling you, the whole chunk of it is for political gain. They are nothing but a machine to try to push their political agenda. And again, as you see, they'll deny charter school applications. They'll try to create this PLC no matter what, even if the test scores are completely going downhill. It's anything for control, centralized control by that union. And again, so many things they get their hands on, from laws that are passed to politicians that are elected to what our kids are learning. It all starts to add up. So yeah, it's dangerous. Well,
I'm sure you'll stick around if you've got some more questions. Please do, please do.
well, thank you so much, everybody. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I don't know, you want to open it?
Okay, you got your tickets handy?
Thank you, and God bless everyone.
Thank you.